Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. Slight change of pace this week. The Build-a-thon guitar and bass are still just waiting for the polyurethane to cure. It just takes a long time. It's like watching paint dry, funnily enough. I'm going to change it up, going to start work on the mandolin, which was nearly a part of the Build-a-thon series before I screwed the neck up. What I've got all around here though is a whole bunch of offcuts. And I was just playing around with these to see if I could do a run of mandolins and sort of do three at once. The initial idea that I had was to try and do a kind of a checkerboard pattern, glue them that way, resaw them, stagger them, do all that. However, I don't quite have enough to do a whole body, so I need to cut up some more mahogany and some more ash. Yeah, I happen to have here some old drawers. There's nothing particularly special about them except the front part here that has been painted is actually solid mahogany, and that's where these come from. This is all part of the same piece of furniture. So I'm going to be slicing up that mahogany there. Also, interesting to note, remove back panel on the drawer, pine sides. I don't know why they've done that. That must have just been what they had in the factory that day. Oh, and the base of it as well. Always save the base of the drawers because it's thin bit of plywood like that. Excellent for making templates. So, I'll be saving all of this because it's fine timber. And then once I've got those apart, this piece of ash here, which is covered in dents and it's got a join in a kind of a weird place, so it's not really suitable for a top on its own. It's kind of dull and kind of strange and kind of damaged, and there's just there's problems with it everywhere. I've already sawed up one drawer face, and I can saw up the rest of these, and get a nice kind of a striped pattern going here, and then I can use the offcuts from here to complete the checkerboard effect for the third one. So yeah, that's where we're at. A run of 3 mandolins. Possibly one of them might be a short scale guitar, in fact, because I still want to try out that idea of having this body as, or this body shape at least, as a short scale guitar. And I'll decide which one of them gets that after I've made them. But for now, it's time to slice up some old furniture. Good times. Okay, so that's a sizable chunk of resawn wood. Fits the template just nicely. But I just glue that up and call that the back of the instrument. That'd be quite something, wouldn't it? I wonder if there's enough. Is there enough material there to do 2? I'm just playing around with it now because that's like, I don't need that piece there. I can just use that bit. Yeah, let's see if I can get 2 of these to happen. Well, I wasn't expecting to get this, actually. What we've got here is enough wood to get two workable, attractive, and hopefully reasonably lightweight and solid and musical bodies. I'm thinking now that I'm actually going to use that as the back of the instrument, and then I can put a top on top. I don't know what that top is going to be yet. I'll have to have a rummage around in the wood pile, but for now I've got a very complicated glue up to do. So, just doing my due diligence here, because I've suddenly realised that this could actually be quite an amazing set of instruments. Because what I suddenly realised is that these two pieces here that I chose to put in these positions, because the grains book matched, they were obviously cut one apart from each other. But the thing is, if I'm planning to stick a top on that, I'm going to cover that up. So I needed to flip these over to put the book matching at the back, and discovered a giant nail hole in that one, which would have been visible on the back, but now that's going to get covered up by the top. Also, trying to figure out how on earth I'm going to actually glue all this together. I think what I'm going to have to do is actually just cut the ash pieces off, and then I can glue up each body separately. I think that's probably the easiest and safest way to do this. And now the question of what to do with the tops. I do love a good book-matched top, you can probably tell. And this one's going to be very nice by the time it's all cleaned up and everything. And I want to do the same thing to the other two, but I don't have any really nicely figured wood. This slab of Remu is extremely boring on its own, and there's a massive crack just there. However, it is just wide enough that I can get two body blanks, or I can get two very boring tops out of that and just miss that crack. So that's an option. And then because this is kind of there's nothing there, this very dull wood, I could do a burst of some sort, paint a sunburst on it, even do a kind of a scratch plate thing just to give the thing some style. So that's an option. This is a piece of Tasmanian red oak, and it is not wide enough to do a whole body by itself. But bear with me here, because this is where it gets a little bit crazy. Half the width of this, stick them together, run them through the scroll saw, then flip one over, and because they'll all be cut out to the same pattern, I can swap bits out and hopefully make a piece of wood that looks interesting. I have also been thinking of putting little strips of black card in the joins just to make up for the width of the scroll saw cut. And also, I think that'll give it a kind of a fake spalted look. At the moment, I'm literally just making this up as I go, because I've never done this before, and I'm going to be very interested to see how it comes out. I think basically what I want to do is just try and chop these two bits up to try and mimic, in some way, sort of the natural flow of this particular top. So, this is what we're aiming for. Let's see how close I get. Well, it's kind of hard to argue that that looks anything other than absolutely dreadful. I still believe this method could be used to create something really, really nice. This is not it. It just looks awful. If I cleaned it up a little bit, I could probably and tried to glue it together, it'd probably still look just disastrous. Half of the issue was that the blade wore out and started to drift, started to cut like that, and then I had trouble getting around corners, and so none of these parts match up properly. Then when I changed the blade, it snapped immediately, and the next one I chucked in there, it just powered through it fine. So yeah, this unfortunately is a very, very ugly pile of firewood. But I had fun. Back to the drawing board. So, failed experiments aside, which you have to expect sometimes, you know, experiments are exactly that. You don't know what the result's going to be, so you try it out, you see what happens. In this case, we didn't get anything usable. However, these look pretty snazzy. I'm very happy with those, and the top that I put on them will just be that pretty bland looking piece of Remu, but that'll allow me to get in and do a nice sunburst, which I really, really love a good sunburst. Hopefully I can do a good sunburst. I've never done one on this body shape before, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. We're going to be, yeah, putting the tops on, hopefully spraying the burst, but we also need to talk about mandolins and mandolin necks, because that would be the next step to completing these. So thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for subscribing, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.